When Dick York left the show, she didn't want to do the show anymore. She was done. But ABC handed her the kitchen sink, and, she just threw herself into it.
With Bewitched, do you feel that you have now been typecast after 4 years? Oh, no. No, I don't think so.
She said, no, I don't want to do this show anymore. I'm done. She wanted to move on.
Samantha, I love playing her. There had been series offered to me before that I had turned down, not for any, reason about I didn't want to be overexposed or anything like that, but it's very hard to find a character that you feel you would enjoy playing for hopefully an extended period of time.
African Americans, Italians, Spaniards, all people were attracted minority-wise to that show because they also sensed Elizabeth's or Samantha's sense of isolation. The show really was a forerunner. And finally she said, people had complained that Dick Sargent was not as animated as Dick York was. She thought that was cool because by the time Dick Sargent had played the role of Darren, the character of Darren had been more accepting of Samantha's magic, so he wasn't going to be as freaked out as much as Dick York was. So I thought that was a very diplomatic way of handling it. As far as... Go ahead.
I was going to say, nobody would have, I don't think, caused a fuss if Dick York had continued throughout, and then he started to be a little bit less, acting in the same way for that same reason. Nobody would be like, well, why isn't he as animated as he was in season 1? And the answer is because he's not as surprised by this whole thing. But somebody new coming in, all of a sudden it reads like, oh, he's making a choice that, Dick York never would have done. But really, they might have ended up at the same place.
That's a wonderful, wonderful perception. Absolutely right. And Dick York told me that, number one, he felt that had he been given that summer of '69 to completely heal from really his... he became addicted to painkillers because on a movie called They Came from Cordura that he did a few years before Bewitched, he wrenched his back and he became addicted to these painkillers, and he was never the same again. His back wasn't, certainly. He had missed 14 episodes of the show, so the producers felt they had to replace him. But he felt, in perspective, he told me this now, had he been given that summer of '69 to recuperate, he could have finished the run of the show. However, Dick Sargent and he were dear friends, which a lot of people don't know. And Dick Sargent called up Dick York before he accepted the role and said, are you okay with me doing this? And Dick York gave him his blessing. So it was just such a complicated thing. And Elizabeth, as far as, when Dick York left the show, she didn't want to do the show anymore. She was done. But ABC handed her the kitchen sink, and, she just threw herself into it. And that first year of Sargent, if you watch, it's really excellent. And in many, many ways, Dick Sargent is kind of being like Dick York. He's trying to be more animated. And then they just let Dick Sargent be Dick Sargent. But as the show continued, you could, especially in the 8th year, Elizabeth is almost like dragging her feet, through the show. Bill Asher had started the affair. She was very hurt, so she was done. ABC still wanted to give her, 3 more years, and she said no. And she actually had a contract with them. She said, no, I don't want to do this show anymore. I'm done. She wanted to move on. And that's why she did The Victim, Mrs. Sundance, because those were both with ABC. They were like left over to help her with the contract that she had to have done Bewitched.
Oh, interesting.
But she didn't want to do the show after York left, and then she finally did convince her. She was convinced to do it. She threw herself into it. And then by the time 8th season rolled around, even though ABC offered her more years, she didn't want to do it. And it's very, very, I want to be very clear here. ABC did not cancel Bewitched. Elizabeth ended the show. Everybody's like, well, it was on opposite All in the Family in that last year. And, it was murdering Bewitched. Elizabeth and Bewitched came in a strong second every week. She ended the show. ABC wanted to keep it. It did not cancel the show. She did.
Interesting. So let's talk. We have a few more minutes here. I do want to talk a little bit about her life. We've talked a little bit of advocacy, of being, a figure, a social and cultural figure, and what the types of projects and the type of campaigns she was involved in. Talk a little. I mean, we mentioned AIDS, but I guess we can get more into that as well first.
Well, no, she was, because so many minority groups, African Americans, Italians, Spaniards, all people were attracted minority-wise to that show because they also sensed Elizabeth's or Samantha's sense of isolation. The show really was a forerunner for diversity and acceptance, and it advocated against prejudice. So she embraced the gay community, and the gay community embraced her. She, of course, Dick Sargent was secretly gay while making the show, but then he became openly gay in 1994, 1995, or 1994, and that's when he asked her to be his co-marshal at the Los Angeles Gay Pride Parade of 1994. So they had this reunion of Samantha and Darren, which probably would not have happened, I have to say, if it wasn't for me, because when I had originally reached out to Elizabeth or to Dick Sargent, he would not talk to me until Elizabeth did. So they reunited. I brought them together, which I thought was really cool. And they became friends. And I don't know if he would have reached out to her or if she would have said yes to them communicating, to be in that parade together. So I'm very proud of that. I'm also proud of bringing her together with David White from was Larry Tate. They met at her house because of me, and they had not seen each other since the show ended. So it was very special that I was, allowed to, number one, ease her mind about Bewitched and convince her that people still loved her. All those years later, which was 1988 when we met in 1989, and that I helped to reunite her with David White and with Dick Sargent.
That's so cool. And people kind of assume sometimes that these people that they see on TV together, they must still be hanging out all the time, forgetting that these are jobs and people go off and do their thing, and you may not see each other for so many years. Where does it rank? Where does Bewitched rank for you in the pantheon of I don't know, we could say of all TV or of classic TV? Like, is it your number one?
I gotta say yes. There's TV shows. I have my top 10 TV shows, and then there's Bewitched. Up there.
Yeah, its own thing.
Ethers, it's such a beautiful show. It gave me a career. I owe my career to Elizabeth Montgomery, Bill Asher, and Bewitched. If it wasn't for them, I would not have a career. Because of the original Bewitched book, I went on to do books on Kung Fu, $6 Million Man, Bionic Woman. Then I went on to do documentaries on Bewitched and for the E! Channel and A&E's biography of Elizabeth. We did the Reels channel biography on Elizabeth. I became this documentarian. We did the new Bewitched Blu-ray, and I did the Blu-ray for the Bionic book, for the $6 Million Man, the Bionic Woman. All of that happened because of Elizabeth Montgomery. She was a complex human being. We're all complex, and whatever issues she had, I tried to deal with and address with dignity. I did not want my book to be a salacious book in any way, shape, or form. That's not my MO. But I also wanted to tell the truth. And I wanted to tell the truth with dignity, with integrity, and it's all laid out respectfully. And I'm very proud of that book. It's probably more of a fan book than it should be. It's not exactly the most objective celebrity biography. And it's maybe not what I call a foo-foo biography, where it's so literary, whatever. It's a good biography about a wonderful person, and it's written with passion and a great deal of affection and somewhat objectivity.
Well, I mean, you just said she had flaws like we all have flaws. And I probably said that exact same thing in my head after reading the book, because it's so, you were, obviously it had a positive spin because you knew and loved her. But it didn't, I came away with going like, no, she wasn't this perfect person. She reminds me of everybody I know, like some good, some bad, some complex, some not. And it's not easy, as much as it is a quote unquote, like living the good life, being a Hollywood actress and having money. There's challenges in all fields and all situations, and going, she was abused by a gig young. She was, there's a lot, even in a charmed life, that can be really, really hard to deal with.
When you're in the public eye, whatever issues you have are exacerbated. So that, makes things worse all the way. I can't imagine the kind of attention, that she experiences, or that any star of an even larger status goes through. I mean, I went on tour as a singer for a couple, cities. Like I went from Rochester to Cleveland and in Chicago, and did a couple concerts. And I was like, my gosh, this is a lot of work. And there are people, I mean, Frankie Valli, right, is still touring at 90 years old. That's a lot of work, and it's a lot of attention. And I do not know where you get the stamina to do that and to deal with the kind of pressure that goes along with that.
Yeah. And she certainly, I mean, I would assume that the public's general sense of her is similar to what, you have. I don't sense that there's anybody who is like the anti Elizabeth Montgomery crowd. She seems
I've never met anybody,
right? Yeah,
who has not loved Elizabeth Montgomery,
including all the people she worked with.
Absolutely. And when I tell people, "Oh, I love her," that's all I get. That's all I hear. And what's great is, because of the way things are today with the various TV networks, doing the classic TV, the show is finding new generations, just like all the other classic shows. There's so many great shows that were great, not because they were classics, but because they were great. Yeah. Good is good in any era, and Bewitched is good.
Well, I think that's a great place to leave it. What are you working on right now?
Well, I was writing a book a year for 5 years, so I was kind of exhausted. So I've taken a break a little bit from books. I have one coming out called Car Poetry in Motion, Comedic Verse for the Autoactive Reader, which is totally different than anything I've done. But I'm also getting back into acting and writing scripts, so I'm excited about that.
Oh, fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being here. This was a great conversation. I had so much fun reading the book. I learned so much about Lizzie, my new best friend, Lizzie. And thank you for putting so much time and effort into that book and all the other stuff you've done. If people want to find you, what are some best ways they can find you?
Well, you can certainly go to Amazon.com to buy any of my books, Switch Upon a Star or Essential Elizabeth Montgomery, which is the sequel to that book. But if you want to you want to order personally signed copies, you can go to my website, HerbieJPilato.com. But I'm all over Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm all over the place.
All the places. Awesome. Well, Herbie J Pilato, thank you so much for talking with us today. This has been fantastic.
Thanks, Tim, for being a great host and allowing me to talk.
Thank you. That's right. You got to give you room to talk.